Hey everybody, this is Caroline from SewCanShe.com, and here we are on week 8 already of our color by number quilt along. So we're working on the color by number quilt, which is, the pattern is free on my website at SewCanShe.com, and today I am quilting in block 14. It's just fabric 14. There are 14 different fabrics in this quilt. And that doesn't mean that this is the last one. That just means that as I was working down in this direction, I came to this beautiful orange color. And so this is color 14 on my quilt, and that's what I'm gonna do next. This is 13, and this is 12, and this is just kind of the general direction that I'm going. I like to kind of watch and see how these quilt designs look together, and I thought this cute spiral design that I am calling my cinnamon roll spirals, I thought this looked really cute next to the diamond that we did last week and the square feather that we did the week before. So I'm just gonna put it right here next to my diamond. So you obviously don't have to quilt the colors in your quilt or the fabrics in your quilt in this order. You can do it in any order you want, but this is just how I'm doing it. So I'm really excited to show you how to do this one right here. So just to get started with, there is just a quick marking that I have been doing for this. You don't have to, you can just go ahead and do your spirals like this. Do 4 spirals, but in order to make mine look like cinnamon rolls that are about the same size, before I got started, I went ahead and I marked each square into little quarters. And you see here, I'm just using my little ceramic marker, the Soline ceramic pencil. It's a marker, it's not a pen, and this brushes off easily. Sometimes I use a little bit of water. But I'm just gonna go ahead and do the rest of my blocks. Just go ahead and mark it. Now, our block is supposedly, if I pieced it properly, it's a 4.5-inch square block. So I'm just kind of marking this with 2.25 inches from the edge. And here's my last one. And here's a little tip for your blocks that are on the edge, where we have the edge of our quilt right here. So I'll go ahead and mark 2.25 inches from the seam, from this seam. And you notice that over here, I've got 2.5 inches, or I should have 2.5 inches. And that's because we have got a 1/4 inch here on the edge that will be in the binding. So I just kind of drew that edge here, and I'm going to pretend that this is the edge of my quilt. So when I mean to start in the corner with the cinnamon roll, I'll start right here as if this were already bound. So, but I'm going to start up here, and I'll do my cinnamon rolls and work down in this direction, and then this block will be finished quilting for me. Oh, it really doesn't look like I made that one right, does it? That doesn't look, I'm just going to kind of remark that. All right, and you see this will erase the first mark I made. Another reason why I like this fabric marker. Okay, so here we have, and as you can see from this one, these cinnamon roll spirals is just 4 spirals. But to help me get a consistent look, I'm starting all of my spirals in a corner. So I'm gonna start in a corner, and you know how cinnamon rolls get all like squished in the pan when they rise, they all touch each other. So in order to make all of your spirals or cinnamon rolls touch each other, we're going to use this 1/4 marking that we just made, and we'll come out. Let me use the pen to help mark it. So we're going to come out here, and we're going to like touch the edge here, and then touch this edge, and then touch this edge, and then come over here and touch this edge. Here, I'll actually mark it. Touch the edge, and touch the edge, touch the edge. And then as we go in, when you're making spirals like this, you have to be careful that you don't make them too tight to start with, or else you won't leave yourself any room to come out of the spiral. So then I'm going to just kind of make a loose cinnamon roll spiral like this. And when I get to the center, then I will back out of it. And see, because it was so loose, I left myself room to get out of it. So, and then we'll just go ahead and start in the corner and do a cinnamon roll like that for each of the 4 quadrants here on the block. Now, I think you noticed here that I went counterclockwise with this spiral to start with. That's pretty much the way I go. For some reason, I tend to go counterclockwise first. So I will probably follow that pattern of starting here and going counterclockwise, and then a loose spiral, and then come on out like that. But we'll just have to see how it goes. So put on my little quilting gloves. I did get some questions last week about why I use these gloves that have 2 fingers cut out. And at first I thought it was just a gimmick, but I decided to give these gloves a try. And I really like them because with these 3 fingers, it's easier to pick up threads and throw them in the trash. And it's also easier to touch my phone if I have to check a text message or something. So they work for me. Okay, so let's just get this down here so you can see what I'm doing. That should be good. And we'll start right here and start right here in this corner, and then do this block right over here. So I'll start with dropping my needle down, up, and I'll raise the foot. I'm just pulling out my thread. I already have the feed dogs dropped on this machine, and I'm using a Supreme slider to help my quilt move smoothly. There are just a few stitches to secure. And now I'm just going to start in my counterclockwise direction to make the first spiral. And you see it's just a very loose cinnamon roll spiral here because now I'm going to come out of it. And it looks great, just the way I want it to look. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and travel. And you guys know that I love to use my quilting rulers. Travel helps me stitch in the ditch straight. Okay, looks like I might have broken my thread here. Let's see what's going on. Or not a problem thread. All right, well, we're on a live video, so let's see what's going on here. I'm just going to go ahead and put the thread here. I really should have checked how much bobbin. See, there's my Supreme slider. I should have checked how much bobbin thread I had before getting started. So either the bobbin thread broke or I ran out. And it looks like I ran out. Good thing for me, I really like to keep a bunch of my bottom line bobbin thread. A bunch of bobbins already filled with my bobbin thread. So I'm just going to load another one. This quilt has a very light backing fabric on it. I think you've probably seen it. It's this floral light pink. And so because of that, I'm using just white bobbin thread. Now to start where I am, luckily, I ended right here, right on the seam line. That's so lucky. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drop my needle right in that place where I ended. And then I'll pull up my new bobbin thread. And I'll make a few stitches right here to secure. And that will also secure where I ended before. So now I've got all of these threads that I'm going to cut when I'm done. So now we'll get started again. How exciting! All right, so let's get started again. I'm just going to use this little ruler to travel. And then I will travel down this seam line. And I'm going to start this little cinnamon roll here in the corner. And again, I'll go counterclockwise. And then come out. And that looks delicious. Making me hungry here. I really have a weakness for cinnamon rolls. Maybe that's why I made this block, the cinnamon roll spiral. Okay, now I'm in the corner again here, and I'll just make another one. Counterclockwise. There we go. Tell me in the comments, I'm going to read the comments in just a minute and answer any questions. Tell me if you guys already quilt spirals, how you like quilting spirals. Tell me what you think. So now I'm just going to go ahead. I think I've shared this before, but I think it's worth noting. On my domestic sewing machine here that does not have any stitch regulation, the best way that I have found to get even stitches, and they're not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to have perfect stitches on a machine that doesn't have stitch regulation. But the easiest way I have found is to put my machine at about 3/4 speed, and then I just mash the pedal down. And then since the machine is going to be going just one speed, then I can only think about controlling my hands. And there we go, that's the last one. And there we have 4 cinnamon rolls in the pan. So now I will just use my little ruler to travel to the next corner. And I already have my little cinnamon roll pan already marked out with the 4 quadrants. So I'll just go ahead. I really think the only thing that you need to remember with this design is that not to make your spiral too tight to start out with. Because if your spiral is too tight, then when you're coming out of it, your stitches, your spiral is going to be really tight, really close together. So we'll go ahead with the next one. And you know, just like a real cinnamon roll, they're not going to all be exactly the same. There's going to be variation. I mean, who wants a cinnamon roll that's made by a machine and where all of them look exactly the same? That would be yummy. So here I'll go with my next one. problem. All right, and now I just have one more, and we'll do the last one. Then I'll be done with my cinnamon roll spirals and thinking of something to do next week. All right, let's go on here. And you know, this design could honestly be changed, and you could do it in a larger area just by, you know, doing a grid. If you wanted to do 9 of these in, say, a 8-inch block or a 9-inch block, you just make your grid and then do a cinnamon roll in each of the quadrants or each of the squares on your grid. So and now we're going down to the edge of the quilt. And I'm going to stop right here, a 1/4 inch from the edge, like I said, and just pretend that that binding is already on. So I'll go ahead and just pretend that this line I drew right here is the edge of my block. Another imperfect but delicious looking cinnamon roll. And now that I'm over here on the batting, I can just go ahead and grab on the batting, the corner where I want to be. And take my last cinnamon roll. And I'll just travel right off the batting. And that's really easy. Then I can just go ahead and cut my stitches here. And I am done quilting. I already practiced these cinnamon rolls in all of the other squares of this color, and I had so much fun. And I think that you're going to have so much fun with this design too. So let me go ahead and move the camera up and check the computer and see if we have any questions. So I will just bring the computer over here. All right, let's see here. Hey, everybody. Somebody from Italy, Illinois. Thank you. I'm glad you like this block too. I did talk about my gloves. The brand. Let me see if I made a note of the brand. You know, whenever the first time I used these gloves, I went ahead and I put a note on our Quiltalong page. So I'm just going to go to the Quiltalong page because I am not good at remembering everything and all the brands that I used, but I'm pretty sure I put a link here on the Quiltalong page. So let me see if I did, just so that I will be correct. Oh, I didn't. Ah, bummer. Okay, let me Google them. See, that's what I'm going to do because I can't remember everything. So I'm just going to Google here fingerless quilting gloves and see if those are the ones that I bought. Yes, they are. They are called Reggie's Grip Gloves. And I ordered mine from Sewing Parts Online. Normally, I order a lot of notions and sewing supplies like this from Amazon, but this time I believe that Amazon was all out. And so I got them faster when I ordered somewhere else. Yeah, Amazon either doesn't have them, they don't carry them, or they're just out right now. So I ordered my Reggie's Grip quilting gloves from Sewing Parts Online, and they were $27, and pretty sure I got free shipping. Maybe because I ordered something else too. So I'm just going to go ahead and I will put that link on the page, on our Quiltalong page, under the products that I used in today's video, so you can get some for yourself if you like. I said that I just like them because with those, it doesn't seem, I don't really see a difference in, the other ones that I had were the purple quilting gloves, and the purple quilting gloves grip really well. These grip really well too. The only difference is that threads and things would stick really hard to those purple gloves, and I'd be like trying for a long time to get threads off my hands. And I'm able to like just pinch the threads between my free fingers and get the threads off easier. And then the purple quilting gloves, I can't use my phone with them at all. I have to take off the gloves to like even just check a text message. And so I can do that with these gloves. So that's why I like them. But honestly, when it comes to gripping the quilt and being able to do free motion quilting, they're both the same pretty much. Okay. All right, well, I'm glad you guys like this block. I really like this quilting design too. It's really fun and easy to do, to make these cinnamon roll spirals. I think they look great on our colored by number quilt. For our next one, somebody did say that they would like to see a meandering design on this. So perhaps we'll do some kind of a meandering design next time or the time after that. Since we did a kind of like swirly design this time, in the little pattern that I'm doing as I go, I'm doing like an angular quilting design and a swirly design and an angular one and a quilt and a swirly one. So that would mean that next week we'll do something a little bit angular, but we'll just have to see how I'm feeling. I'm just kind of a casual quilter. I casually just do what I feel like doing. And that works for me because really, you know, I feel like, and I'm sure you can agree, there are so many stressful things going on right now that I don't want to stress too much over my quilting. I want to enjoy my quilting. And so I try and make this as enjoyable process as possible and just quilt what I feel like or what I think will look good. It doesn't always work out. That's why I practice. All right. Are spirals okay for beginners? Absolutely. Everything is good for a beginner. Honestly, I think that the only way we get past being beginners is to try and fail. When I started college, I decided to learn Russian. And let me tell you, I had to make a lot of mistakes. I had to actually go to Russia and speak it all the time and make a lot of mistakes and have a lot of people laugh at me. I think you have to make like 100,000 mistakes to be able to be fluent in a language, something like that. And quilting is another thing that you just have to get in there and make your mistakes and do it. And then you get better. Trust me, you do get better. You just have to get in there and do it. Okay, so yeah, try the spirals. I think I've given you enough tips and tricks to get started, ways that you can make your spirals kind of look like the cinnamon rolls is to, you know, start in the corners so that they all start in a consistent place. They're going to look a little similar because they're all starting in the corner. If you want, you can make them all start going in the same direction. That's another thing that kind of will make them look consistent. But if you don't, if you accidentally start one going in the opposite direction, don't worry about that at all. And then, you know, if you draw your grid ahead of time, I'm not saying you have to mark your blocks and draw a grid, but if you do, that will kind of give you some boundaries and help you know, oh, I need to like start the spiral by stretching out and making it hit all four sides before I go in. And then they'll all look a little more consistent. So anyway, this is really fun. Thanks for joining in and watching me quilt this block today. Oh, another question. What mat are you using beneath the quilt? So this is, I have a couple of these, and I I like them all. One is not better than the other. So this one is the Supreme Slider, which was the one that I bought when I first started quilting. So this one is probably 10 years old. And then I also got the little slippery mat from So Steady. So Steady also has a really nice one. And the difference is that the So Steady one, it's, here you see, this is the Supreme Slider, and it's just plain white. And it does, the purpose of this is just to cover up all of these cracks here and everything to keep my surface areas smooth. And it does make a difference. The one from So Steady, let me look it up and just so I can tell you the name. So Steady has a green one, and it has markings on it. So they call a link to that too. The So Steady glider, I really love that. It does the exact same thing, except it's bigger and it will cover up more of the area. But I love that for piecing because of the grid on it and all the measurements on it. It helps me when I'm just piecing to be able to, like, for example, for half square triangles, there's an angular line on it, and or I can just put, anyway, it just helps me with half square triangles. It helps me with consistent piecing. So I keep that one stuck to, okay, this is gonna sound silly, but for this koala table, I have two inserts. I have this wooden insert that I usually use when I write tutorials where you're going to see this part of the table, because with the clear insert and I'm taking pictures, it makes some weird reflections sometimes in the photos. So I have the wooden table that I usually use when I am taking pictures. And that was just the one that I had in here. And so I put on my slider, my Supreme Slider mat. My clear insert, my So Steady clear insert for this table has the So Steady glider stuck to it. And just to make it easier for me, I didn't take it off the clear insert. And so when I switch to the clear insert, it's got the glider stuck to it. I hope that makes sense. I'm just lazy and I didn't take off that green one and roll it up and put it back in the tube. I just took off my clear insert and put it in the slot where I keep my inserts. So then when I put on this wooden insert and I needed some kind of a smooth surface, I grabbed my So Steady glider, or I grabbed my Supreme Slider and threw it on. I hope that makes sense. All of it is just about laziness. Okay, let me see if there's any more questions. Okay, no more questions. So thanks so much for joining. I would love it if you liked this video and followed my Sew Can She YouTube channel. You know, I have a whole bunch of fun stuff on here talking about sewing and quilting. And if you visit my website, sewcanshe.com, I have hundreds of free sewing and quilting tutorials. I have a lot of fun writing those. So have a great weekend, and we'll touch base again next Friday.